Everybody, it is a new year. Happy 2016. And what does that mean? It's a new season of the SkyCast. That's right. Winter sports rolling deep as we tape on January 7th. We're getting ready for the second weekend of the hashtag Road to Reno and men's and women's basketball. We got indoor track going as well. We're excited to be back with you here in the new year. I'm John Oglesby.
Jason Ashcraft.
Brad Wall.
And again, a lot of exciting things that happened over the holidays, fellas. First off, again, Happy New Year out to all of our viewers out there and all of our members of the Big Sky Conference fan group. We appreciate all your support. Men's basketball got going last weekend. Women's basketball got going as far as conference play. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But let's start off indoor track. It's cold outside, so they have to run indoors. Indoor track and field's going. Brad, what's happening there?
Yeah, so you had a couple teams competing in December. It'll really kind of get rolling here in about a week and a half, January 15th, 16th. That's when your full strength teams will be out in full force. We'll be really getting some great marks out, some good qualifying marks, all that kind of stuff. And those performance lists are just going to shake up really soon here. But we had Montana State and Montana. They competed on Monday and Tuesday, kind of a rare thing. Their multis competed, so they had they did the heptathlon for the men and the pentathlon for the women. Got a couple qualifying marks out of that. Mason Storm from Montana State, 4,908 points in the hep after track conversions, all that altitude. Second in the conference right now, so good start to the season for him. And then we got three qualifiers out of the pentathlon for the women. Jessica Crisp for Montana State, Danielle Ryder. 3,590 points for Crisp and 3,574 for Ryder. They're 1 and 2 in the conference right now. And then Erica McLeod from Montana also qualified. So it's always a really competitive event. It's a really interesting event to watch kind of transpire. And once you're in. So you get that qualifying mark, you're there. Want to give a shout out. This happened almost a month ago, but Footsum Ziana Selassie, coming off of a red shirt in cross country. That dude's in shape. 13:44.89 in the 5K at the Hoosier Open in Indiana.
Wow.
Got chased down by a runner from Portland, UP. But that's I believe number 2 in the nation last I checked.
Wow.
He's a phenomenal athlete. I mean, we didn't pick an athlete of the week for that week, but I can tell you who it probably would have been.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, just there's been this December competition thing. Not a lot of people competing, but still some really strong marks, and I'll be looking really forward to in a week, about a week and a half when we got track going. Got tennis coming up soon, and softball, golf. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Give basketball some company.
Yeah. Spring sports getting going here soon, and indoor track and field's got the conference championship actually next month, towards the end of the month up in Bozeman, late February. So looking forward to that. Should be a good time for those of us that go up there for that. Anything else with indoor track and field, Brad?
No, just getting ready for about a week and a half.
We should have the preseason poll coming out here pretty soon as well.
Yep. So we'll definitely look forward to that. I want to turn our attention now to Big Sky women's basketball as the women kicked off the hashtag Road to Reno last weekend officially. I know that obviously you've had preseason play and non-conference play, but last weekend conference play got going. Here's how it sits after one weekend of conference play. Idaho, Montana State, Montana, and Eastern Washington are all at 2-0. Weber State and Sacramento State are at 1-0. Want to give a special shout out to Sacramento State. Since our last episode, mid-December, they've broken the conference scoring record not once, but twice. They scored just an amazing amount of points last week in a win over Portland State. Listen to this final score, 132-91. Portland State scored 91 points and lost a game by 40 to Sacramento State.
Sacramento State's one of the most fun teams to watch. Bunkie Harkler Road preaches speed, tempo, and they are not afraid to shoot the three.
No, they'll do that.
Last year, I mean, watching them in the women's basketball tournament last year up in Missoula was just so entertaining. They got up and down the court. you couldn't. I felt bad for the people that had to run Stat Crew because how quickly they do everything. So shout out to them. That's amazing that they could get that done. And if you want to watch an entertaining women's basketball team, be sure to look up the Hornets on WatchBigSky.com.
I really like to see their conditioning process too.
absolutely.
What they go through in practice. It's got to be, it's just unorthodox, but it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, they are. They're really an entertaining team to take a look at. Again, all their games, as well as all conference games, are available on WatchBigSky.com. We'll talk a little bit about that in our final segment. I want to talk about some things with WatchBigSky.com. However, back to women's basketball for just a moment. There's a couple teams, Idaho and Eastern Washington, both get off the mark with some good starts. They got games coming up this weekend against each other. We'll talk about that in a moment. Weber State 1-0 to start league play. The Wildcats at 9-3 overall. We had Beth Ann Ord on this week at Big Sky Basketball, Jason, and really seemed to be just a lot of confidence with that Wildcats program as they get ready to head this weekend to Northern Colorado and North Dakota.
I think some people might be surprised at how good they've started this year. But if you look back at the end of last year, you could kind of see signs of what was going to happen this year. They played pretty well to close out the season, got off to a slow start in the 2014-15 season. This year they kind of have gone beyond that and really brought it into this season. And Regina Okoye is just a phenomenal player and is really the heart and soul of that team. Yeah,
some other good performances this weekend. Delaney Hodgins up at Eastern Washington really had a great weekend for the Eagles, was able to lead them to a 2-0 performance with wins over North Dakota and Northern Colorado. She's had a couple personal bests up there, so congratulations to her. This week's Big Sky Women's Basketball Player of the Week is Montana's Kaylee Valley, as she scores averages 28 points a game, 7.5 rebounds. Montana defeats both Southern Utah and Northern Arizona at home. Also, Montana State going 2-0 again. They had an overtime win over Northern Arizona, but the Bobcats 2-0 as they head out on the road this weekend. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later. It's interesting to see right now, fellas. You got a lot of traditional powers that are doing very well to start the season. But again, you've got teams like Idaho last season, their first season back in the Big Sky was kind of an up and down year. They have played very well throughout non-conference play. Started out hot. Eastern Washington's rolling right now. Weber State with what they've done as well. And then Sac State, anytime you can score 130, probably going to have a good chance to win a game.
I think there's a lot of speculation going into this season about the tournament, about everybody getting in. Is the regular season going to matter? And you could tell that people are really gunning for that bye. I think that's just going to be really huge in the tournament, and it's already evident one week in.
Yeah, well, the parity in the conference, too. You have Southern Utah right now. Southern Utah, as it sits right now, is in last place in the Big Sky Conference. They took a team that's tied at the top of the league right now, Montana State, played them well. You got Northern Arizona, who's at 0-2 as well in conference, tied for that last spot with, Southern Utah. They play well and take Montana State to overtime. There's some good things happening right now in women's basketball, and it should be a fun race to watch throughout the rest of the season. Speaking of basketball, men's basketball getting underway in conference play last weekend as well. Jason, what happened?
A lot of crazy stuff happened.
Crazy.
Just to round out the end of the non-conference season back on the 29th of December, Weber State took it to Multnomah, 114-47. Some other good non-conference wins to end out the season. Portland State, which has really come on strong lately, 89-82 win over Cal State Fullerton back on the 29th. And then Idaho State picked up a win over Cal State Northridge, 84-79. And then we go into on New Year's Eve Big Sky games. And Northern Arizona has played 3 overtime periods in 2 games. They started off their season with a 2 overtime thriller against Montana. 90-84 was the final score. The Grizzlies won that game. Just an insane game. People were hitting last-second shots to send it to double overtime.
And G-Feller,
he got Player of the Week.
Just had the stroke.
Yeah, insane performance by G-Feller in that one. Northern Colorado picked up a win against Eastern Washington, which is the defending Big Sky tournament champions. Southern Utah knocked off Montana State, and then Idaho, who's a team you really need to look out for, 74-71 win at North Dakota. Your standings right now, Idaho's 2-0, Montana's 2-0. Then you got Weber State, Portland State at 1-0, and then a bunch of teams North Dakota, Montana State, Northern Colorado, Southern Utah, all at 1-1. So what's most exciting to me was how many road wins were picked up this week.
Absolutely.
Idaho picked up 2 road wins. Montana picked up 2 road wins. That's hard to do in this conference.
Absolutely.
And those kind of wins, Brandon Gfeller talked about it on This Week in Big Sky Basketball, those kind of wins are really going to help you come tournament time because you are playing in an unfamiliar venue. But let's talk about Gfeller for a minute.
Yeah.
He's our player of the week. 2-0 start for the Grizzlies, as I said. He averaged 22.5 points on 57% shooting in those 2 games. He had a great performance from behind the arc, shot nearly 60%, 58% from behind the arc. Just had an insane game. Was 8 of 14 from the floor against NAU in that overtime win. 7 of those came from behind the arc. Then he did it again with 6 3-pointers against Southern Utah in the Grizzlies win there, where he had 21 points. He was on fire. I think people are calling him 3-feller this year.
3-feller.
So
there was a stretch in that NAU game where it's I don't know, they're down a little bit to the Lumberjacks, and then 3. All of a sudden it's 59-51. He just reeled them off.
Yeah.
I thought it was the altitude at first, and then he turns around and goes to Southern Utah.
Are they going to pressure this guy?
And then he goes down to Southern Utah and does it, at a lower altitude. So obviously he was feeling it this week.
No doubt about that. Some really great things again happening on the hashtag Road to Reno, and we invite you to use that hashtag to keep going. Again, a lot of fun things happening on the men's and women's side as we get ready for the conference basketball tournament. Again, we're taping January 7th, 2 months from today. We tip it off in Reno as the battle for the Big Sky happens in the Silver State. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to promo what's coming up this weekend in men's and women's basketball. Stay with us. You're watching your favorite show on anywhere, the SkyCast.
A new era has come to Big Sky Conference basketball. 24 teams will invade the Reno Event Center on March 7th. Make plans to join us in Reno, where you'll be the witness to all the basketball madness you can handle. Tickets are on sale now. Visit www.roadtoreno.com to get all the details on how you can join your team on the road to Reno.
And welcome back, everybody. It's the second and final segment of the SkyCast this week, with only men's and women's basketball really rolling. We don't have as much to talk about. Next week, again, we'll keep opening up the arsenal and add some more things. But going to preview what's coming up this weekend in men's and women's basketball. I'm John Oglesby, joined by Jason Ashcraft and Brad Wall. And we'll start with previewing what's coming up in women's basketball first off. Actually, you know what? Before we do, I want to just say something real quick. You may have noticed earlier this week we put out some Player of the Week promotional videos. We didn't in the last segment really praise, but Brad Wall put those together, and really a great job by him. Puts them out during the week so you can see a lot of great plays from our Player of the Week winners. Again, you can find those across the spectrum on the Big Sky Conference social media. So props to Brad on doing that. I know that messed up the flow, but I just wanted to throw some props your way, my man. Okay, women's basketball this weekend. Some big matchups here. I want to circle one in particular. Eastern Washington at Idaho on Saturday. That's a 2 o'clock Pacific time game. You can find it on watchbigsky.com. Both of those teams 2-0. Again, I don't want to put too much importance because it is the beginning of conference season, but conference games all count the same. They all count the same, and they all help you earn those buys in the standings. This is a big game for these two programs. You get to see some great players. Idaho has just had a mixture of great players. We'll say, Jerry McCorkle matching up against, pick or insert a Hodgins here. Yeah. There's some strong players for both these teams, and so I'm excited for that game. That's 2 o'clock on Saturday. Let's run through the Thursday night games. Weber State at North Dakota, 7 o'clock Central Time kickoff on watchbigsky.com. Can the Wildcats keep it going? We'll see tonight. Idaho State, Northern Colorado, both of those teams looking for their first conference win. Montana at Portland State. I know Portland State lost by 40 against Sacramento State, but they still put up 90-plus points.
They're capable of scoring.
Yeah, so you got to watch that. Montana, again, 2-0. They're led by Kaylee Valley. Also, McCauley Feller in there, really doing some good things. Montana State is Sacramento State. Montana State's one of the better defensive teams in the Big Sky Conference. They go up against easily the best offensive team in the Big Sky Conference in Sacramento State. Bobcats 2-0, Hornets 1-0. I guess we'll have to see who wins between #GoCatsGo or #StingersUp.
Looking at tonight's games, the first one really stands out to me. Weber State, as you said, they've been playing very well. North Dakota is a tough place to play.
Absolutely.
It's probably,
tough trip.
Yeah, it's a tough trip. The Betty is always full for women's basketball. They love it there in Grand Forks. And North Dakota has a lot of talent, so they've got something to prove. This one's one that you really should look out for tonight.
Absolutely. And remember, all these games available for free, because that's what we're about here, for free on watchbigsky.com. And we'll talk about that coming up a little bit later in the segment. Saturday's games, we already talked about it. Eastern Washington at Idaho, 2 o'clock Pacific time. Make sure to be near a device of some kind that can connect to the internet for that one. Some other ones, a regional rivalry matchup here, Southern Utah and Northern Arizona. Both of those teams, well, they went winless in their trip up to Montana to face the Lady Grizz and the Cats. I don't think it was a trip where it was a worthless trip, if you get what I'm saying. I think we saw some good things from both of those teams. Jessica Richardson played well for Southern Utah. Renee Coggins playing well for Northern Arizona. Again, NAU took Montana State to overtime. We're going to have to see what happens down in Flagstaff this Saturday.
It's a tough road trip to open with, too.
Yeah.
And now you get this travel partner week where you don't have to play Thursday and you can focus on your travel partner on Saturday. I think that'll be the interesting matchup: Eastern Washington, Idaho, and Southern Utah and NAU.
And that's part of a doubleheader.
Getting to prepare for each other all week.
No doubt about
that's your one game.
No doubt about that. Montana State at Portland State. Be interesting to see what happens tonight. Results will really tell a lot about how it'll build some storylines for that game. That's a 2 o'clock Pacific time tip-off on Saturday. Idaho State at North Dakota, 2 p.m. Central. Montana at Sacramento State. That's a 2 p.m. Pacific time tip. This is another game I'm really excited to see because Montana, they're built in a sense that they're not going to push the ball as much. And they're not going, I mean, they score on layups and they'll push it where needed, but they play a much more controlled pace than Sacramento State. I'm interested to see who wins this. We talk in football all the time about a battle of tempos. Whose tempo in this game is exerted the most? And who comes away with the victory? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, Montana likes to control the ball and use up as much shot clock as they can.
Yep.
But, if Sacramento State gets hot, you can – I think the key for Montana is going to be controlling the ball. But if Sac State gets hot, it's going to be –
force some turnovers.
Yeah.
It's kind of that tradition, the Lady Grizz versus the new age unorthodox style of the
Bunky
Hornets.
Bunky ball. That is right. Then the final game coming up this Saturday, Weber State at Northern Colorado. You can find that game 2 o'clock Mountain Time on WatchBigSky.com. All right, remember to follow at Big Sky WBB for all of what's happening with women's basketball. But men's basketball, there are some good games coming up this weekend.
Absolutely. Just take everything that you said and reverse where they're playing. That's basically your schedule. We start off today, Weber State hosting the Fighting Hawks of North Dakota right here in Ogden. Weber State 1-0 in the conference. Right now they're riding a 4-game win streak.
Yep.
Joel Bollenboy still leading the nation in double-doubles. It's just kind of a foregone conclusion by this point that he's going to have a double-double. He's got 13 on the year.
Yep. Just a beat.
He's getting NBA praise. There's a really cool feature on him that the local ABC affiliate here in Salt Lake did that I just tweeted out on Big Sky MVB about him. He's got a really cool background, interesting story. But this is going to be a very interesting game. North Dakota has some pretty good guard play. They're 1-1 in the conference right now, 6-7 overall. So a decent non-conference season for them. They have some pretty good guard play. It's going inside against Bollenboy. That's going to be tough for them, but that's one you really want to keep an eye on. Portland State's at Montana tonight at 7. Northern Colorado is at Idaho State at 7 as well. And then Sacramento State at Montana State. It's also at 7. Montana State, kind of the surprise team of the year so far.
Brian Fish is doing some good stuff up there in Bozeman.
Really good stuff. Marcus Colbert, we talked a little bit about him, in private today. Really good player, and Tyler Hall is just insane.
Nice surprise.
Yeah, and they're this is going to be a very interesting game. But don't count out Sac State. They got some really good low post players. Justin Strings, very strong in the low post, who also has ability to shoot out wide as well. Then we go to Saturday. Portland State's at Montana State at 2. A lot of these games are at 2, but starting everything off on Saturday is Idaho's at Eastern Washington. That's actually a 12:05 tip. They play before the women as part of a doubleheader of the regional rivalry there. Idaho 2-0 in the conference, 10-5 overall. They've won 5 straight. Eastern Washington looking for their first conference win, but it's in Cheney. Tough place to play.
Yep.
This is going to be one you really need to pay attention to. Northern Colorado is at Weber State at 7 p.m. on Saturday. NAU and Southern Utah, that regional rivalries in Cedar City at 7 on Saturday as well. North Dakota is up in Pocatello at Idaho State. Sac State at Montana, 7 p.m. start in Missoula. Another one you really want to pay attention to as well. As Montana, as I said, 2-0. Sacramento State 0-1, but with a lot of talent there. Be interesting to see what Brian Katz can get going with the Hornets.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so many great storylines right now in the Big Sky Conference, and some of you, I know you two may ask, John, how would you watch Big Sky games? I know that's a conversation.
I would ask that.
Yeah, you would ask that.
Would.
You would. If you're one of those people like Jason who's wondering how you can watch Big Sky games, maybe on your phone, maybe on a tablet. You can access watchbigsky.com anywhere the internet is and access high definition free Big Sky basketball anywhere in the world as long as there's an internet connection. You can do that on your iPhone. I did it last weekend while I was in a movie theater, and it was pretty nice. Don't tell anybody about that.
Surprised no one threw popcorn at you.
Back row. You can't be a rookie. You got to know how to operate. Back row. So you can watch it in a movie theater, maybe at the in-laws' house. You can watch it on a tablet, and you can watch it on a desktop computer. Just go to watchbigsky.com. Again, free, high-definition commentary from our great Big Sky radio announcers is on there, our television partners. It's what you want to do. Watchbigsky.com. Again, mobile device, tablet, desktop, doesn't matter. Get free, high-definition Big Sky basketball games right there. Did I miss anything on that, fellas?
No, I think you got it covered.
Good. Just want to make it clear that it's free and high definition.
Yeah.
Leave nothing to interpretation.
And we've had some people ask us about the app.
Yeah.
We're working on it, but in the meantime, until that's available, go to your web browser on your iPhone, open up Safari, type in watchbigsky.com. You can watch everything as if you could on your app. It's the same thing.
It is really that simple. All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the SkyCast. Again, new year, no limits. We're going hard this year. 2 months away from tip-off the 2016 Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball Championships. We're excited for it. We hope you are too. Remember to visit roadtoreno.com to buy tickets as well as to view hotel accommodation information in Reno. I'm John Oglesby.
Jason Ashcraft.
Brad Wall.
We'll see you next week on the SkyCast. Good luck, everybody.